There is an invisible web permeating all of creation, where each element dances between the known and the hidden, the light and the dark. On this stage, darkness takes many forms, shrouded in mystery and shadow, often feared yet admired for its depth. Thus arises the question, is evil a force we should fear and avoid, or does it contain a hidden dimension that can paradoxically lead us toward growth and a deeper understanding of our own being? In this vast spiritual universe, the concept of evil is not absolute. It is an entity with different faces, expressions, and intentions, each offering a unique facet of human experience and the soul's journey. In one aspect of darkness lies entrapment, a force that hinders the soul's progress, ensnaring the spirit in the dense webs of fear, ignorance, and attachment. This is the evil that subjugates consciousness, separating the self from its highest potential, binding it within its own limitations and doubts. Yet, there is another face to darkness, a shadow of a different nature that, rather than trapping, encourages transformation. This is the purifying darkness, one that, like a fierce flame, pushes the individual to shed illusions, to strip away what is false and ephemeral. Such darkness, far from being an enemy, is a stern teacher challenging the soul to transcend its weaknesses, to dive deeply within to extract a hidden light accessible only to those with strength. Understanding this duality is an essential key for any spiritual seeker. Knowing how to distinguish between the evil that paralyzes and the evil that uplifts is, ultimately, understanding one's own destiny and the forces that operate within it. This discernment guides the spirit on its journey, teaching it to resist what binds and embrace what liberates. There is a dense, dark current that winds through the ages, silent and relentless in its purpose to enclose the human soul. This evil, as ancient as existence itself, embodies the power of forgetfulness and isolation, diverting the being from its divine purpose and enveloping it in a haze of illusions. It is the evil that closes the doors to spiritual ascent, whispering doubts and fears, feeding on insecurities and desires arising from the most vulnerable parts of the self. It lurks in the shadows of the mind and heart, camouflaged as a seductive, disorienting truth. This evil manifests as ancient archetypes, resonating within myths and traditions across all cultures. Many call it the brothers of darkness or demons, personifications representing not just beings but states of consciousness, energies that seduce and erode what is elevated. They are architects of doubt and self-sabotage, masters at trapping the soul in repetitive cycles, preventing the self from venturing beyond the mundane mind's boundaries. The presence of this darkness is felt in every limiting thought, in every emotion that drains spiritual vitality. It feeds on passions, fears, anger, and attachments, growing and expanding in the shadows of the collective unconscious. The brothers of darkness, in their symbolic forms, inhabit the fabric of society, corrupting structures and beliefs, shaping systems and institutions to serve worldly power rather than spiritual truth. This is the evil that imprisons, and its purpose is clear: to hinder the awakening of human consciousness, to keep souls trapped in the illusion that the material world and sensory satisfaction are the only realities. It blinds the individual and obscures spiritual clarity, making them indifferent to the depths of their own being. With an almost inaudible whisper, it weaves illusions of control, security, and power, but only to entangle the soul in a web that ultimately prolongs suffering and ignorance. But for the seeker who longs for liberation, recognizing this influence is the first step toward transcendence. Recognizing the presence of this imprisoning evil in the subtleties of daily life, in the energy of relationships, in the constant anxiety of modern times, is an awakening in itself. This evil exists to be identified, challenged, and ultimately overcome. By perceiving the difference between the illusory glow of the outer world and the true light residing within, the being begins to break the chains of this confinement, embarking on a journey back to its essence, back to the truth dwelling deep within its own consciousness. There is another face of darkness that reveals itself, one that does not bear the mark of entrapment. This is a force that challenges, a presence that confronts and burns away illusions so that truth, raw and pure, may emerge. This purifying evil is paradoxically an expression of a severe and mysterious love. It is a blazing fire that does not destroy but transforms, like a cosmic forge shaping the soul through trials and tribulations. Within spiritual traditions, this face of evil is symbolized by entities that, though feared, hold a redemptive purpose. Among them is the Lord of the Three, a universal archetype representing the soul's threefold trials: fear, doubt, and loss. This being, unlike the evil that entraps, is a master of elevated teachings who, by presenting challenges, compels the self to reveal what is immortal within. Such darkness, though painful, carries a sacred intention, dissolving all that is transient and forging what is eternal. Like fire that purifies gold, the trials of this purifying evil confront us with our limitations, exposing the shadows residing within. In moments of adversity and suffering, we are forced to see the essence of our own soul, to seek strengths we didn't know we possessed. These challenges teach us to abandon the superficial and focus on the essential, revealing the truth hidden beneath layers of desire and illusion. The purifying evil emerges in losses, separations, and periods of desolation. It manifests in situations that seem insurmountable but aim to expand consciousness and strengthen the spirit. Each painful experience, each loss, is an opportunity for self-discovery, a chance to look beyond the surface and find the divine spark dwelling in our essence. This purification process is, by nature, a solitary path, where the soul faces its own shadows and limitations, but upon victory, it is reborn into a state of greater clarity and understanding. Embracing this purifying evil means accepting the path of transformation, of rebirth, knowing that it leads to true enlightenment. It is understanding that, for the soul to reach full light, it must first descend into darkness and confront its own fears. Those who surrender to this process with courage and an understanding of divine purpose emerge stronger, having discovered within themselves the eternal flame that no darkness can extinguish. On the spiritual path, the ability to discern between the evil that entraps and the evil that purifies is like a sacred compass, pointing the way away from the shadows and toward true light. This art of discernment is a trial in itself, inviting us to awaken the inner vision, the voice of intuition, that knows how to distinguish between what seeks to weaken us and what, though painful, aims to elevate the soul to its highest purpose. In daily life, this discernment manifests as a quiet intuition that alerts us, makes us question, and seeks answers beyond appearances. Imagine that upon taking a new path in your spiritual journey, a series of obstacles arise. Are these setbacks attempts to dissuade you, to keep you in your comfort zone, or are they tests demanding your persistence and faith? Just as the apprentice must distinguish between the mirror and the reflected image, the seeker must discern if these obstacles are limiting barriers or steps leading to awakening. Likewise, in relationships, discernment between the evil that entraps and the evil that purifies becomes essential. In a continuous, draining conflict, the soul is challenged to ask, is this confrontation an opportunity for growth and learning, or does it drag me into cycles of resentment and meaningless suffering? Here, the practice of discernment acts like a lens of clarity, helping us see if the challenge strengthens us or keeps us bound. This exercise is continuous and requires profound honesty and self-knowledge. By separating the influences that limit us from those that drive us forward, we recognize that evil, in both its faces, is a presence that demands our attention and our growth. It is the awareness of the hidden purpose that transforms each experience, whether of pain or doubt, into an opportunity for growth. By facing difficulties with discernment, the soul begins to cultivate true wisdom, drawing closer to what is eternal and moving away from what is illusory. To navigate between the two faces of evil, the seeker needs spiritual tools that illuminate their path and strengthen their spirit. Just as a warrior needs armor, the soul in search of truth must equip itself with practices that protect its essence and cultivate inner clarity. Each of these practices is a key, a portal that leads to wisdom and spiritual resilience, enabling us to recognize the evil we should avoid and embrace the purifying evil as an inevitable stage of awakening. Meditation, for example, is a sacred link between consciousness and divine silence. By quieting the mind, meditation dissipates the shadows of doubt and fear, allowing the light of intuition to shine unobstructed. In this stillness, the seeker learns to listen to the inner voice, the profound truth that guides and reveals the secrets of their own soul. Meditative practice teaches us to discern, to observe the flow of thoughts without attachment, separating what is transient from what is eternal. Shadow work is another indispensable tool. This is a path of courage and honesty, in which the individual faces their own fears, traumas, and unintegrated aspects. By illuminating these forgotten parts, The seeker unveils the influences that keep them bound to imprisoning evil and frees themselves from patterns that drain their spiritual energy. By embracing the shadows within, they become stronger and more resilient, less susceptible to external influences that aim to divert them from their path. Practices such as yoga and energetic purification strengthen both body and spirit, raising vibrations and shielding the aura from negative influences. These practices awaken inner strength and broaden spiritual vision, creating a barrier against energies that seek to weaken the soul. They also prepare the being to face the inevitable challenges of purifying evil, empowering them to move through moments of pain with serenity and acceptance. Acceptance and confrontation, ultimately, are essential elements in this process. Accepting the purifying evil is understanding that sometimes pain and difficulty are disguised teachers, whose mission is to elevate consciousness. Facing imprisoning evil, however, requires conscious strength and a commitment to the inner light, refusing the illusions and attachments that keep the being captive. Only with this dual skill, of accepting and confronting, is it possible to walk firmly through the labyrinth of duality, preserving the flame of discernment and truth. Thus, these practices become pillars of the spiritual journey. They not only defend the soul from the dangers emerging from the shadows but also prepare it to embrace trials as instruments of growth. The inner light, strengthened by discernment and resilience, transforms the seeker into a being who, even when facing evil, finds redemption and awakening on the path. The spiritual journey is a path between shadows and light, a crossing where each step brings an invitation to self-knowledge and courage. In the vast enigma of duality, evil manifests as a constant challenge, a trial requiring lucidity and strength. Embracing this duality is, in essence, accepting life in all its complexity, recognizing that each darkness crossed can be a turning point, a chance to become more whole and closer to the divine. Embracing the light in the journey of growth means understanding that true wisdom lies in knowing when to resist and when to surrender to challenges. The discernment between imprisoning evil and purifying evil is a sacred compass, guiding us in a universe where shadows are not mere opposites of light but potentialities that can elevate or imprison us, depending on how we confront them. By facing trials, we embrace the opportunity to transcend duality and access the unity at the heart of every experience. Every suffering transcended, every darkness illuminated by our inner strength, opens a path toward enlightenment, toward a transformation that brings us closer to the sacred. This is the mystery of purifying evil. By confronting it, by understanding its purpose, we cease to be victims of circumstances and become conscious participants in our own journey. And so, at the intersection of light and darkness, the seeker discovers their true essence. Imprisoning evil and purifying evil are, after all, invitations for the soul to awaken and shine with a light that no shadow can extinguish. May we advance with courage and discernment, recognizing each trial as a step toward spiritual fulfillment, as a call to awakening. If this path inspires you, like this content and subscribe to receive more reflections that illuminate the soul and strengthen the spirit.